Welcome to Disruptive Successor, a show for next generation leaders in family businesses and entrepreneurs who want to disrupt the status quo and take their existing business to a whole new level. We all know that what got us here isn't going to get us there. This show will provide inspiration, advice, and resources to help you create massive impact. This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session.
Hi, it's Jonathan Goldhill, and welcome back to another episode of the Disruptive Successor Show. And today, my guest is a disruptive individual, not necessarily a successor, but he's got quite a story to tell. His name is Alex Ramirez, and he's the founder of a world movement of modern gentlemen committed to achieving true freedom and having it all. I met Alex through Instagram. He reached out to me and said, "I've been following your podcast, and you seem like a modern gentleman." It caught me by surprise, and I was thrilled to be on his podcast. Let me tell you a little bit about Alex today, though. He is on a mission to find the best methods to help men master themselves and live to their full God-given potential. His passion is helping men build amazing stuff by supporting them with their mindset and performance, the two most important aspects that entrepreneurs must work on and manage. His gift lies in freeing entrepreneurs from negative subconscious programming that holds them back from their full potential. He helps entrepreneurs get rid of self-sabotage, doubt, fear, and unworthiness, and optimizes entrepreneurs to operate at their full potential. I'm going to introduce Alex and let him tell you the rest of his story. But first, you'd think that all this would come from a man of his middle 30s or 40s who's had a lot of life experience. But Alex is going to surprise you. He's a mere 21 years old, which in some states is just past drinking age. But he's got a world and wealth of wisdom. I'm so thrilled to have you on the show today, Alex.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled for you, inviting me after getting me on getting you on my podcast, and we got to connect and had a good connection and invited me. So I'm humbled. Thank you very much for having me. And it's a pleasure being here. I hope I'm able to, provide some value to anyone who listens.
Well, you will provide value because there's a lot of young people out there, and a lot of them are probably older than you listening, because you are on the young side of the demographic, and yet your years of maturity and wisdom are beyond your age, as I said on your own podcast that I had the privilege to be on. But your story is really strikingly interesting, and while you're not in a family business per se, you embrace everything that's right about what I call a disruptive successor, which is someone who's taking over a next generation in a family business. But we're all successors, right? To someone, a father, a mother, we're children. Sometimes we're also parents. As I understand it, you're both, obviously a child of, someone, but your story is so interesting and there's so much to learn. So I really want to dig into your story today and how you got to where you are. So take us back, tell us what it was like in your life growing up, what your experience was like, and tell us a little bit about who you are today.
All right, Jonathan. So first of all, man, I just wanted to mention that I am a disruptive successor. And let me tell you, the story of when I realized this. So I realized this because, I started in insurance, right? And, and then I wasn't selling insurance. I started in insurance. That was like when I was 18, and I wasn't selling insurance just like everyone else. I was helping people from the middle and the lower income class, Hispanic people from the middle and the lower income class in the United States, to get out of a generational cycle of poverty and build wealth, right? And through this journey, I learned something. And this was that, there's strong men who build good times, right? And then those good times build weak men, right? Because like those men that are born after good times do not really know what it takes to build good times. And they just get to live good times without the work ethic, discipline, consistency, and focus that you need to build good times, right? So they become weak men. And then those weak men build bad times. And then those bad times build strong men. And then strong men build good times. And then good times build weak men. And it's a cycle that keeps on going and going and going. And the reason that I'm telling you that I'm a disruptive successor is because part of like my purpose and part of my why and part of what drives me, right? Something that I have very like wired inside of me is this. Like I'm living good times, right? My dad was a strong man who went to a lot of strong things and fucked up and finally learned everything and shared it to me, right? And he said he was a strong man and I'm living pretty good times, right? But instead of me being a weak man, right, from those good times, I'm being an even stronger, wiser, more intelligent, more evolved, right? Man who is working to build even better times and intentionally looking to raise beautiful kids and beautiful kids to become the most powerful, respectful, humble, wise, intelligent, evolved men and women who change the world. So instead of repeating the same up and down cycles of strong men and weak men and strong men and weak men, I will intentionally make sure that my daughter and the rest of the kids that I'm going to be having, I'm going to make sure to like literally come up with a system to raise them to be stronger than ever, more intelligent than ever, more evolved than ever, wiser than ever, men and women who change the world. So I am a disruptive successor.
Yeah.
Right?
And what's interesting is, when you first introduced yourself to me, which was, just a month or so ago, you said 3 years ago, you didn't speak a word of English. And like, that's an incredible accomplishment just in 3 years to be so well spoken. But that means you probably didn't read books in English either 3 years ago. So you gained a lot of knowledge. And you also introduced yourself as having come from a broken home, basically. And so many of us, or so many people, do come from broken homes, and they don't know how to lift themselves out of poverty or out of addiction or out of whatever struggles their families had, bad businesses, gambling, whatever the problems were. And you used, I think, singularly, your mindset to help lift you. You also used your physicality and your emotionality to develop a very healthy being. And I recall you sharing with me that your father, who I think you met up or caught up with when you were 15, 14, right, shared like about these 4 levels of freedom. Tell us what they were. I remember them, but I want to hear your words and why they're so important.
Yeah. So thank you. So this broken family that I come from, right? Generational cycles of mediocrity, drug addiction, alcoholism, and broken families was because my father was a drug addict and alcoholic for a major part of his life for more than a decade. And through that journey, he had 7 different kids with like 7 different women. Right. So he went through life literally just drinking, doing drugs, and having kids all over the place. And
sounds like fun to some people, I guess.
Yeah. Sounds like goals, right? For some people out there.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so that's how he went through life. And my mom had me at 15 years of age, right? So like a kid having another kid, which, she like treated me really bad, right? But that's not the case. So I didn't grow up with my dad. I mean, he left my mom when I was like 1. My mom was like 16, and then I stayed with her, single mother, right? And I didn't grow up with my father, but I reconnected with him 14 years later. And when I was 14, and he gave me some advice. He said, that if you wanted to be successful, happy, and fulfilled, this is what SHF means, right? Like you can see my logo, anyone watching on YouTube, SHF means success, happiness, and fulfillment, which is what I believe everyone wants, right? If you want that, you need to become a gentleman. That's what he said. And now I've added the word modern gentleman, right? And he said that the way you became, you were able to become a modern gentleman was by focusing on achieving true freedom. And he said that there were 4 freedoms, right? He said everyone's looking for freedoms, but the reality is that there's 4 freedoms that you have to achieve they have to focus on achieving in a specific order, he said. And he said the first freedom is physical freedom, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, optimizing your body and your mind, right? Like loving yourself. That's basically what everything comes from, right? Like learning how to love yourself. Mm-hmm. If people, Jonathan, learn how to love themselves, they would literally solve 90% of the problems, 95% of the problems they have, right? Most of the problems that people have are made up stories in their mind that they could solve by loving themselves, right? By giving themselves good food, by making them, allowing themselves to sleep 8 hours, by giving themselves water, by taking vitamins, supplements, taking themselves to get a massage, every now and then. Like literally 95% of people's problems, Jonathan, would be solved by that. Right. So that's physical freedom, he said. That's the first one, putting yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. The second freedom is emotional freedom, right? Once you've put yourself first, then you put yourself first again. That might sound a little bit selfish, but that's what you need to do if you want to be selfless, right? And you want to give an impact. You can't give to someone what you don't have, right? So emotional freedom is the second one. And emotional freedom is about knowing who you are, right? Getting in tune with who you are, getting in tune with what you want, getting in tune with where you're going, your purpose, getting to know yourself, because you can't master what you don't know, right? So that's emotional freedom. And he said that once you had those 2 freedoms, physical and emotional freedom, the financial freedom was going to be very simple, right? Mm-hmm. And it was going to be very simple. You focus on working on those 3 for the next couple of years. You end up with a business that provides a nice lifestyle with a lot of confidence and conviction around who you are and looking and feeling amazing. From there, you can like explore the world, taste a little bit here and there, right? But like do it consciously instead of being driven by fear, right? And going out and look for the woman that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, build a family with, and keep on growing your empire with. That's sentimental freedom, becoming a husband and a father. And the thing is that most men do things backwards, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason they do things backwards is because they're missing the sense of significance. They're coming from fear, like I just said right now, right? They try to fill up this sense of significance with all the wrong things: drugs, alcohol, and women, right? That's what my dad said. Like he was 18 when he got someone pregnant. He became a husband and a father. That was the first thing he did. Started doing everything backwards. Got someone pregnant. Now was trying to provide, investing all of his time on the financial freedom, failing to succeed, and sedating what he felt, he didn't feel good enough, sedating that with drugs and alcohol, and neglecting his wife and kids, neglecting himself emotionally, obviously not taking care of himself, not loving himself, doing everything backwards. And that's how he said most men end up fat, poor, ugly, alcoholic, divorced, broke, and alone, right? He did that once, and then he repeated the same thing 6 more times. Wow. For a total of 7.
Wow.
And that's the advice he gave me, right? He said, don't do it this way, don't do it that way. And I didn't listen, right? Of course. So, reconnected with him at 14. I didn't listen,
right?
I'm sorry?
Right. What teenager would listen to a parent, right?
Yeah.
I think it was, there's a famous Mark Twain quote, goes something like, when I was 14, I thought my father was a total idiot. By the time I was 21, I couldn't believe how much he had learned.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't listen. And oddly enough, and this is, for anyone listening out there who might be young, and even if you might not be young, I've gotten advice by a lot of people that I didn't start implementing or I didn't start taking seriously until I read it on a book. And then I was like, holy crap, like this is something that my mom told me, or this is something that my dad told me. But at the time I didn't listen to them until I had to went through it. Right. So if you can save that time, and instead of, and if someone tells you that if you touch the fire, you're going to get burned, instead of you having to go and experience getting burned, right, you can save a lot of time and you can save a lot of time, money, effort, and suffering. So I didn't listen. From 14 to 18, I was a drug addict and alcoholic. I was driven by fear. I didn't feel good enough. And I was missing this sense of significance, which I tried to feel by being the one that drank the most, being the one that did the most of anything that they put on the table. And I got lost from 14 to 18. At 18, Jonathan, to not make like the story too long, I got my girlfriend pregnant. Right. So I started going down the same path as my dad. And my mother, I mentioned she had me at 15. Right. And she told me a story. She said that if you have a kid at a young age, you're going to be a fuck up. You're not going to amount to anything great. You're going to fail and you won't do anything with your life. That was some beliefs that I had. So at 18, when I got my girlfriend pregnant, well, I was scared, right? I didn't want all of those bad things that I was told were going to happen to me. And I didn't want that baby, right? I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have a relationship with any of my family members to feel like I could go and ask for help. So me and my girlfriend decided to go with abortion, right? So my girlfriend ended up taking like 40 some pills. On Google, it said that she was going to be in pain and bleed. That's exactly what happened. She was in pain for a couple of nights, had a really bad time, bled everything out, and it worked. The abortion worked. A month went by. My girlfriend got her period just as she normally would on the dates that she normally does, confirming that the abortion had worked. And we were like, awesome, right? That's what we wanted, right? And another month went by and she didn't get her period. And we were like, holy crap, like what is happening? We just went through all of this. You were in pain, you bled, it worked, it happened, everything happened exactly as how we thought was going to happen, how it said on Google, right? And now you're not getting your period again. Like, what is happening? We bought a test. My girlfriend took it. She was pregnant again. And guess what we did? We did the whole procedure again. She took more pills. She was in pain again for a couple of nights, couldn't sleep, had a really bad time, bled everything out, right? And it worked, right? And like, just imagine that, man. So the other day, one of the members from the mastermind that I'm part of told me this story, like the most beautiful story about how he had his baby, how they had it at home. They decided that they didn't want to go to the hospital because hospitals are filthy and they do things to you without your consent and it's expensive, blah, blah, blah. Right. And they decided to want to have their baby at home. And like, this guy was telling me the story of how he received his baby and how like, it was like the most miraculous and beautiful thing that he's ever experienced. And then that's that was like a story, like full of light and love and like very inspiring story. And then I tell mine and it's like a completely opposite, right? Like we're talking about white and we're talking about blood. We're talking about light and we're talking about darkness, right? Just that contrast was crazy. So we did the abortion attempt, the blood and the pain and the not being able to sleep, right? 2 times. And then 1 month went by after the second one and we were graduating high school. We were seniors. Prom and dances were going on. My girlfriend wore tight dresses. She didn't look pregnant. She didn't feel pregnant. Nobody knew that she was pregnant. We didn't know because the previous abortion attempts had worked. And then we graduated. And then 1 week after graduating, Jonathan, from 1 week to another, out of nowhere, I became the father of a premature baby that was born at 5.5 months of gestation. Whoa. Because the previous abortion attempts had not worked. And that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, man. Right? It was like it completely shattered me. I had all of these limiting beliefs. I had nothing going for myself, no goals, no mission, no purpose. I was addicted. And then I had this happening, right? Like it was like this horrible thing. I had a baby that was like this big that could fit in the palm of my hand that was connected to a bunch of stuff at the hospital that I previously tried to kill multiple times. The whole process was full of pain, shame, and guilt. And it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it turned out to be the best, right? It turned out to be the catalyst for my growth. That happened 3 years ago. Actually, my daughter's about to be June 31st. She's about to be 3. So a little bit less than 3 years ago, right? And in that period of time, all of this growth has happened. I've been through all of this growth and personal development. I've invested over $200,000 in my personal development, coaches, consultants, masterminds, etc. I'm about to marry my wife this November of 2022. Because it finally makes financial sense. And my daughter is absolutely beautiful and healthy and nothing is wrong with her, Jonathan. And I didn't believe in God before all this happened. And now, like, I don't know what else to call it other than a miracle, right? So everything is driven by by this, right? By helping men become modern gentlemen, by the story my dad told me. And there's a lot more. There's a lot more stories that I can tell. Like from the beginning, ever since 3 years ago, like everything was pointing into the direction that I'm going right now on. All right, everything was pushing me towards the journey that I'm on right now, but I wasn't listening, and things started to go really fast, and I started to make really fast progress, really effortless when I started listening. And and that's what happened, man. And now, like, I'm here, like I'm a 21-year-old, and I feel I'm 21. I'm able to play and have fun like if I was 10 or 5, maybe. I feel like I have the wisdom of a 40, 45, even 50-year-old. I've talked to like men who are at that age, and I forget about my age, right? So, and I feel 21. Well, I look 21. I probably look 21, maybe a little bit older. I feel great, right? I'm fit. I'm in shape. I can have fun like a 5-year-old. I have the wisdom of a 40-year-old, and I just feel great, man. But it's because, I embraced the hardships. I worked through the trauma, and I started listening.
Yeah. So I think your story is amazing. And I want to dig into it. But I'm going to make you laugh first. There is no June 31st. There's only 30 days in June.
Okay, June 30th then.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I hope you got a birthday right. So don't wait for June 31st. It's not coming. And congratulations. And like, that is an amazing story. Was there a moment, like an aha moment, an epiphany, like something that just switched for you? Or was it a more gradual, like cleaning up the addiction and then cleaning up what was was there an inflection point? Like usually entrepreneurs say that there was an inflection point. I was doing 6, 7, 8, 900,000 and all of a sudden in revenue, I'm talking about. And then all of a sudden, like we did this and the business like took to a new level. And I remember when I ran a consulting firm and we were building it, and there was an inflection point, and it happened, and we went from 9 people to like 27 people, and it was fast. And but so what do you remember? Like, was there a personal moment that just was like a defining, like this was it, like this is bottom, or did it just start to start to click into gear and like the wheels started turning in a different direction? I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm going to be the dad that my dad told me I could and should be. And that's, what do you think?
Let's see. So no, like there wasn't like this aha moment. It was a painful progress, right? First of all, getting out of addiction and by doing hard stuff, right? So everything is driven by our dopaminergic system. Mm-hmm. So I had to take care of that, right? Actually, one of the things that helped me be happy when I was unhappy by not doing drugs was taking dopamine pills. So I think, that helped. And then I stopped taking dopamine pills. But, I woke up feeling happy because of the dopamine pills. And that helped, right? So like it was like a progress, and I started doing hard things, like taking cold showers, right, and replacing my bad habits that I had with good habits. So that was like a complete, like a progress, right? Like it was a really painful, slow process, and like right after this happening, right after this major event happened, I went to Guatemala, to where my dad is, right? In Central America. I went to him, and then, he coached me. He was like, he had some grace for me, some compassion, some empathy, because he had gone through everything that I went through multiple times. And he coached me. And it was like my identity shifted, right? Like I went to college because even though I did high school high, like I would literally get high in between every single period that I did high school, like all of the 4 years of high school. Even though I did high school high, I got a full ride scholarship to go to Arizona State University. And after having my daughter, right, for 1 year, I didn't have to worry about money because my scholarship was literally paying for my gas and my food and my clothes, right? So when I went to college, like in August, right? So my daughter was born in June, and then June, July, August, those 3 months were like really painful, right? Going through the process of, getting out of addicted, replacing bad habits with good habits, refixing my dopaminergic system, all of that kind of stuff. And then when I went to college, I had a completely different identity. Like I was a father and I believed it, right? Like I felt it. I didn't go to one party, during that entire year. And every single weekend, like I was in college during the week. And then during the weekend, I would drive back to Mexico for 3 hours to go and visit my family, right? Every single weekend. So maybe there was like a shift in my identity, right? All of a sudden I wasn't a kid that was allowed to do drugs and party and go to, and now I was like a man, right? Someone who had fucked up and had to figure out how to turn his life around and get everything back on track, right? But when I realized, and it's crazy, man, because when I went to college, it was in Phoenix, Arizona, right? And I got myself a mentor actually for free. So I started selling insurance. I got recruited by a network marketing company to sell insurance. That's when I gave myself. I've always had a purpose. And look, I think this is going to impact anyone who listens. I've always been driven. I've always been purpose driven. And I don't think you find purpose, Jonathan. I think you choose purpose, right? So when I went into the insurance company, I was like the most driven, and I started to produce like the highest. I started to become like a high producing insurance agent, and it was because I wasn't selling insurance. I was helping Hispanic people from the middle and the lower income class to get out of a generational cycle of poverty and build wealth. And I was using the stories of how my grandpa died, right, and he didn't leave us anything, right? My grandma had to go back to Mexico because she lived in the US, but when my grandpa died, she had to go back to Mexico because she lost everything. And then she got remarried. And then a decade later, my second grandpa died, and she lived again in the US, and she got to go back to Mexico because she lost everything again. Right. So like, that was like the best story that drove me. And that gave me the purpose of helping Hispanic people from the middle and the lower income class to build wealth. Right. And that was what was driving me. So I chose that purpose and I took it seriously, and I believed it. Right. So I think that purpose, if anyone out there is, like struggling with motivation, struggling with consistency and discipline, and they're not doing what they know they're supposed to be doing, well, then you gotta, like, you're not going to find purpose. Like, wow, like I found my purpose. No, like you choose it.
Let's talk about that. It's like my colleagues probably in doing, taking leaders, entrepreneurs, founders of business through an exercise, we call it core purpose discovery. But I think you're right. Discovery would suggest that it's there, it's existing, and we have to find out and identify it so that we can amplify it. But you're suggesting that maybe it's something different. It's not, it may still be there, but we choose it as opposed to it being present and we just have to identify it. What are your thoughts? Your thoughts are really on like very, very absolutely committed to that. And I think you're right, is that we choose our purpose.
So I think that finding purpose is like, it gets people going on this journey of trying to find something that they don't have. So like they're missing it, right? Like they don't have it.
Aspirational. Yeah. Gotcha.
But like, I think that we do have, a purpose, and we just have to choose which one is it, one is it? And then, and then it can change, right? It has changed for me. But like finding your purpose is this idea of like one day you will like find your purpose, and then you won't have any problems again, and you just do that for the rest of your life. No, but like you can choose your purpose, and then you can choose to change that purpose, depending on your growth and your evolution. I think that as humans, we do have like a core purpose. Like everyone has this. All right.
Is it a calling? Is that the same thing? Is that different? Do you think?
Yeah, everything. Every human has this as their purpose. Take a look at this. All right. And it's to just progress, just to try to be better today than you were yesterday. Try to be better tomorrow than you are today, and try to be the best version of yourself. Right. So I think that the purpose for every human being is purpose, growth, and contribution. And if you feel like you don't have a purpose, then focus on growing and contributing. And then you find, I said that you don't find that you choose it, right? But you find a lot of options, and then you choose which one is it that you want to commit to it, right? And then you mix in a little bit of belief, and you believe that is your calling. You believe that is your purpose, and you just go at it.
So I'm not sure I agree with you here.
All right.
I think that you and I share a similar belief and philosophy, but I don't think that everyone shares that belief and philosophy. I believe that there are a lot of people that I've met and worked with that are coachable. There are some that are just not coachable. They don't want to change. They are who they are. I think as I've gotten older, I'm less coachable. I'm more settled in, like, this is who I am. This is how things are. This is the way I'm going to be. I think that also there's a lot of people who are in jobs that, let's call them skilled or semi-skilled or even unskilled, where they're not managerial, they're not leaders, they're not entrepreneurs. And I don't think that their purpose is around growth. Their purpose is maybe just enjoy a good life, make a good living, be a good person. But I don't think of them as people who are growth oriented. I think a growth oriented mindset is limited to those who choose it, and not everyone's choosing it.
Well, I agree with you, Jonathan. Okay. I think that there are a bunch of people that haven't chosen, to like be on this constant evolution and this constant journey of growth and becoming better and better, right? So there's definitely a lot of person that are complacent, that are like not growing, right? But I think life is a growth concentric experience. Mm-hmm. Like life is not a comfort concentric experience. It's a growth concentric experience. We're here to like learn and grow. Like we're not here to be comfortable. Like if you look out in nature, everything is growing and contributing, right? Anything that doesn't grow and contribute gets taken out of the food chain. And I think we're the same.
I'm not going to, we could push back and we could continue this dialogue. I think there's a lot of people that are, they're set in their ways and they're comfortable being comfortable, and they're hoping that no growth is going to push them in any one direction, or in any one direction. But all right, let's move on from that. It's all right. It's kind of philosophical. So
it is, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey and what you're up to now, because we haven't talked at all about that. We've touched a little bit on mindset, and but I want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. Where are you at right now? What is your business today, and what do you want it to be, in the future?
Mm-hmm. All right. Before I tell you what I do today, let me just go back. Please. So I started selling insurance, right? Like everything happened with this, like life-changing events that got me on the right direction again, because I've always felt like I had something within me, but then I got lost. And then and then something happened that got me back on track. Right. Mm-hmm. And then I went to insurance, did really well, made money, and all of the money that I ever made, because it was during the year that I was going to college and I didn't need to worry about money. Well, all of the money that I've ever made, I invested into myself. Mm-hmm. I want to make a point here. And then I realized, I started doing like digital marketing and running like simple funnels and taking traffic to that simple funnel to like generate insurance leads. And I realized how, most insurance agents were like knocking doors, doing events and passing flyers, so trying to recruit their family and friends. And I didn't want to do that. So, I got really good at like generating my own leads. So I started
you must have read Russell Brunson's Traffic Secrets. I'm guessing
100%. Yeah.
You were bought all in on it. All right.
I bought like all of his courses and the like 30-day one funnel challenge and all of that. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started an agency, right, helping insurance agents generate leads, right? Okay. And helping insurance agency owners generate leads. Like this I call it the unlimited lead generation something, right?
Right.
And I started selling this, and I realized that it was easy to sell an $8,000 service for 3 months to insurance agency owners than it was to sell like a $30 per month policy to a person, right? So I quickly changed. I didn't think twice about it. I was like, oh, okay, so I can do this, and someone will pay me $8,000 for a 3-month service. But like I'm having a lot of trouble selling a $30 per month policy. All right, let's go do it, right? And I figured it out. I did. I had some sales. I had some clients. I lost clients, and then I got clients, and then lost clients again because I was like a solopreneur. So I was working really hard. And again, all the money that I made, I invested it into myself, right? I didn't have any expenses. Like I've literally spent the last 3 years wearing black and white shirts. So I invested into myself. And through investing into myself, I started to through focusing on growth and just contribution, I started to realize like my purpose, what I believe to be my purpose now, started to become clearer and clearer, right? And all of a sudden I was like 20 and I was like, I was part of three masterminds. Like Gary J. White talks about body, being, balance, and business. And then the King's Council talk about the 5 power pillars: physical, mental, spiritual, and then I became part of a mastermind that talks about family, fitness, focus, finance. And it was like, okay, everything started to become clear. Like everything started to fall into place. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to be, right? I'm meant to be a different messenger for the same message, right? And create this world movement. I started working on my vision, like writing my goals down. And I spent a year from like 20 to like just recently trying to sell 30, 40, 45-year-olds on how to grow their business without sacrificing time, health, and relationships. You might guess how that went. That didn't went well. In a year, I did like more than 60 to 70 sales calls, and all I got was rejection, right? But like I was so committed to my purpose, I had chosen to go on this journey, and I believed it, and I wasn't going to give up, right? Like I was going to do whatever it took, other than give up. So I was like, okay, well, if I can't close anyone and I can't help anyone become modern gentlemen because no one is willing to like give me a chance because I'm 20 years old and I don't know anything about life, right? Apparently, well, I'm going to start a podcast, right? I got the idea of starting a podcast, and I'm going to start a podcast, and I'm going to interview, men who are where I want to be, who are doing the types of things that I want to do, and who have the life that I want to have, right? And obviously, to determine who those men were, I had to get clear on who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, and what kind of life I wanted to have. And, and who is it that I wanted to be. So I got clear on that. And then I was like, okay, so I'm going to start interviewing those kinds of men. I'm going to start interviewing, men who I believe are modern gentlemen. And when I do this, this was my thought process. By doing this, I'm going to learn a lot from them. That's probably going to help me achieve my goals a little bit faster. And at the same time, I'm going to be killing 2 birds with one stone, because at the same time, I'm going to be impacting the lives of anyone who listens. Right. So I started my podcast, The Gentleman's SHF Talk with Alex Ramirez, out of passion, out of purpose, out of a commitment to my purpose, and out of a determination of not wanting to give up. Right. I wanted to do something that allowed me to make progress into my purpose. I started it. I was really committed. Right. I didn't give up for like a year, and despite all like a lot of rejection. So I was really committed, and I started my podcast. I didn't know anything about podcast, but I didn't have those skills about, to start a podcast. But guess what I had, Jonathan? Belief and balls.
Right. Which
is mindset and performance, right? And I think, there's an evolution that entrepreneurs have to go through in order to level up. And it's this evolution, this constant evolution and improvement on skills, right? Character and performance and belief and mindset, right? But I think that more important than skills is your belief and your mindset, right? Your character and your belief in yourself, belief and balls, right? I think that more important than skills is those 2 that I just mentioned, because if you have those 2, if you have certainty, you'll figure out whatever it is that you need to figure out to do whatever it is that you want to do. So I started figuring out, right? I started getting like my first guest was like a guy who won multiple ClickFunnels award. And I almost, like on my first interview, I almost canceled it because like there was this very successful guy. I was just a 20-year-old guy who hadn't had success or hadn't done anything, right? And when he accepted and he scheduled the podcast with me, like a couple hours before having the podcast, I wanted to cancel it because I didn't believe in myself. Right. So I wanted to cancel it. And I was like, no, I didn't cancel it. I crushed it. Like if you go to my first podcast, I absolutely crushed it. Like I prepared. And then I just, started developing a system for me, right? To podcast. I started developing a system to make sure that my podcast aligned with who I was trying to be, what I was trying to do, with the life that I was trying to have, my purpose and my goals. And my podcast became a vehicle that was aligned with everything that I wanted, that helped me achieve bigger goals faster and with less effort. I created a system, right? This thing called the Cloak Track to find my ideal podcast guest, right? That's what I use to find you. And by leveraging the Cloak Track, I found a bunch of my ideal podcast guests. And by leveraging the Cloak Track, I closed an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of their league, out of my league they might seem. They seemed. So like I started getting, like 7-figure entrepreneurs, 6-figure entrepreneurs, 8-figure entrepreneurs, 9-figure entrepreneurs. I've gotten a couple of 9-figure entrepreneurs like Jeff Lerner, and I'm not good at names, so I just mention that one. So I was finding my ideal podcast guest. I was closing the interviews with them, and then I started creating content, right? And I started like documenting the entire journey. I started my podcast like in December, January, right? Like about 6 months ago. And then by February, I had this amazing system, this 4-step system: alignment, how to find your ideal podcast guest, how to close your interview, and building the content machine. The content machine is what I sent you like a day or two after our interview, right? And in March, I hired someone to help me, right? Because I couldn't do everything by myself. And then I hired someone else, and then I hired someone else, and then I hired someone else. And then right now I have it's crazy. So that happened in March. And then right now I have a team of 13, right? Like we're really fast. I have a bunch of clients who I'm helping build, who I'm helping reach, bigger goals faster and with less effort. So Jonathan, so what I do right now, right? So now to tell you, right? It was like a long story to tell you what I do right now. How like coaches, course creators, authors, and speakers, like a lot of them struggle to, like sell courses, sell their coaching programs, sell books, or get booked to speak, get invited to speak. Well, I help, those kinds of people to build a multi-million-dollar network of people who can become their clients, get them in front of hundreds or thousands of their ideal clients with their coaching courses, books, and speaking, who can invite them to speak on stage, who can, build a network of speakers who can speak on their stage. And that will ultimately help them achieve bigger goals faster and with less effort. And how we do this is with podcasting, right? We use podcasting as a networking tool and combine it with the Cloak Track to build this machine that will help you build a network of people who will help you get to where you want to go, right? And there's 4 steps: alignment, aligning your podcast with, with who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals and your purpose, finding your ideal podcast guest by leveraging the Cloak Track, closing interviews with them, and then building the content machine. So for the content machine, you optimize the content, right? Make it look really good. You multiply it. I send you a bunch of clips, reels, posts, story posts, and then distributing everywhere. And right now I have a done for you service in which we do all of that, for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, authors, and speakers. And we do 95% of the work. All they have to do is show up to the interviews. And that is what we do. My business literally started in January, February, March, April, May, June. So I have like less than 3 months. I'm less than 3 months old. I have a team of 13. And I had a goal to get to $1 million by the end of the year. So by the end of Q1 of 2023, I had like my goal was to stay at 1 million, $100,000 per month consistently in recurring revenue. But now, like I know exactly how I'm going to achieve that, Jonathan. Like I literally know I know every step of the way. I know exactly how I'm going to achieve that. And when you set a goal that you know exactly how you're going to achieve it, and it's too small. So I've decided that my goal by the end of the year and by Q1 of 2023, instead of getting to $1 million per year, instead of getting to 7 figures, I'm going to get to 8, because that's a goal that I don't know how I'm going to achieve. That's a goal that makes me a little bit, like fearful, excited, right? And I have no idea how I would be able to do that in such a short period of time. And that's, that's the game. Like that's what makes it inspiring, because $100,000 per month, I know exactly how I'm going to get there. Like I'm half the way. but $866,666 per month, that's like a little bit more challenging, right? That's like that makes me think like, holy crap, like how am I going to get there? Which is the whole point, right? And when you mix, so like belief is good, right? Having belief in yourself is good. Having faith is good as well. Having trusting the process is good as well. But when you mix those three, you put them into a blender and you mix them, it gives you a sense of knowing. And a sense of knowing, Jonathan, is like if I hold this and I open up my hand, and I'm holding something right now on video, right? And I open up my hand, I don't need faith to know that it's gonna fall. I don't need to trust to know that it's gonna fall. I don't need belief. I don't need to believe that to know that it's gonna fall. I have a sense of knowing to know that it's gonna fall. And that's what I have. A sense of knowing that I'm gonna get there. Like I don't know how, but I will.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a great. It's a great teaching that if you want to 10x your business, it starts with first believing that it can be done, affirming that it will be done, and then just how it'll get done will get figured out. And I think also, a little shout out to people like myself, coaches who have mentored people in doing it, is helping to remove any roadblocks or obstacles is really valuable. And that's what I think coaches do, as well as providing a roadmap or being a thinking partner to providing that roadmap for how to get there, and then putting processes into place so that there aren't a lot of hiccups along the way. You don't lose people because you made bad hiring decisions. You don't have to fire people, or you don't bring on a partner prematurely, or bring on a financial partner who doesn't share the same goals or values. So I think it's great. The whole notion of 10xing your business is, or maybe it's 20 in your case right now. That's it's an act of faith and trust and confidence that can get you there. And so, this has been a great story.
Well, Jonathan, I want to say two things.
Yeah.
So belief, right? Belief is based on a past reference, right? So like you can believe that you can do something if you've seen someone else do it. That's why like masterminds and that kind of stuff is so valuable. But then faith is like, like you don't need a past reference to know that you can do something. You have faith, right? And when you combine faith and belief, right? If you put yourself in the right rooms and, you're like, holy crap, like they've been able to do it, right? And not only do I have belief now, I have faith. And then you trust the process. That's when you are able to like manufacture this sense of knowing, right? That's the first thing that I wanted to say. And the second thing that I wanted to say was like, it might sound delusional, right? But like delusional, that's how you say it? I think so, right?
It's delusional when you have vision without any execution. But if you're executing on your vision, then it's not a delusion. It's not a hallucination. It is a vision. And a vision is what a leader, a leader who has a vision might be taking him and his team, or her and her team, or whatever, to a place they've never been, and creates followership because people believe that it can be done.
And and people may be thinking like 0 to 10 million in like less than 2 years, like you're crazy. That's why I say that like it might sound delusional. But let me tell you, like I feel like I cracked the code, right? And the code is building people, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That's all I do. Well, build my team, and they're helping me build my business.
So I think it was Napoleon who said, a leader is a dealer in hope. So, you're a hope dealer, and but it's more than hope. It's faith, it's confidence, it's trust. It's all those things that you said. So, Alex, you are a wonder. You are really a whiz. And I'm so glad that we got to spend this time together. I think, and I hope this was inspirational to other people who may be older and maybe haven't been so, like challenging of themselves to be their best person. And I think that you've really tried to be your best person. You have a great story of turning around your life. Let's answer a few quick questions. So, what would you tell a younger version of yourself if you had to tell that 14-year-old, and different advice than your dad gave, or if you had to tell someone who was your age or older who was struggling? Maybe they were addicted, maybe they were incarcerated, maybe they needed a second shot at life. What advice might you give? And look, you could take a variation of what your dad gave you, but what would you share with them?
I would tell them, man, that whether it was me or whether it was someone else, I would tell them that you are good enough. You don't need anyone's validation, approval, acceptance. You don't need, your job is not to be liked by everyone. And when you're able to internalize this and really not only understand it from an intellectual level, but feel it and make it become part of who you are, that you're good enough, that you're worthy just as you are, that you don't need anyone's validation, approval, or acceptance, and that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to, knowing that you're good enough, right? So you don't have to prove anything. You can go out there and create anything that you want. If you don't understand that, and you're driven by the patterns of not being good enough and trying to prove that you're good enough and doing everything that you do to prove that you're good enough, then it's BS. Until you understand that and feel it and make it part of who you are, you can go out and create anything that you want.
Oh, that's great. So like I said, you are a disruptive successor. How can people get a hold of you, Alex? What's the best way to reach you?
So, man, I lost my Instagram the other day, but on Facebook, I don't know my Facebook handle. My name is Alex Ramirez. I don't know my Facebook handle. I'm going to learn that too. Whenever I come up on a podcast, I say it, but I have this amazing training that takes people through the 4 steps of building this, $1 million network of people who can help you achieve bigger goals faster with less effort. And if you are a coach, course creator, author, and speaker, and you're purpose driven, this seems to magnify for purpose-driven people, and you want to get invited to speak on stage, sell more of your courses, coaching programs, throw your own events, and building a network of speakers. If you want to build this multi-million-dollar network that will help you achieve your goals, I have this 4-step training. After that training, you will literally have the tools to go out and take action. Okay, and the way you can get a hold of that training is, it's called millionairepodcastautomation.com, right? Millionairepodcastautomation.com. If you go there, you'll be able to get a hold of the training. The training is enough. If you're driven like me, the training is enough for you to be like, oh, okay, I get it. And you go out and take action, right? However, I'm also going to, if you watch the training and you like it and everything, that you're going to get enough to go out and take action. But we're also going to offer a free complimentary alignment call in which, it's like a 90-minute alignment call, 60 to 90 minutes alignment call, in which we get aligned. We make sure that if you want to build a podcast, whether it's with my help or without my help, I want to make sure that you go and do it being aligned, right? And aligning, building your podcast with who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals, your purpose, and the opportunities that you need, and knowing who has those opportunities, going out there aligned with what kind of podcast you need to build to get to your goals faster and with less effort. And
millionairepodcastautomation.com. And we'll have that in the show notes, assuming you provided that to us. So, Alex, I want to wrap up and say thank you very much for sharing your story. It was very inspirational to me. I hope it's inspirational to other people. I'm sure it will be. Guys, you can choose your purpose. You can be who you want to be. Not all of us are meant to be maybe some unrealistic things. Not everyone's going to fly a stealth bomber or be a Jet Force, Top Gun pilot. But figure out and find your purpose, your calling, and then choose it and then own it. I think that's Alex's message today, if I heard it right. So
cool. I like it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, folks, you know the drill here. If you liked what you heard today, like us, give us a 5-star review on your podcast listening app of choice. Share it with others. Subscribe. check out my book, Disruptive Successor, on Amazon.com. And we'll see you around on the next show. Thanks a lot.
This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session.
Thank you for joining us on the Disruptive Successor podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, review, and share with a friend who would benefit from the message. If you're interested in picking up a copy of my book, Disruptive Successor, go to DisruptiveSuccessor.com.